ever there was a time to bring Faker Than Pro Wrestling out of the mothballs, this call from those of you who don't watch football because you have lies or because Monday Night Raw was on, and God, I wish I had watched Raw last night because this is bad. This is this is the culmination of what has been 3 weeks of just bad. No, not even 3 weeks, 7 weeks of just bad, bad decisions. Putting aside the ridiculous Golden Tate not a catch thing. If ever I was going to do another episode of Faker Than Pro Wrestling, it had to be after a referee made a bad call. And what a horrendous, horrendous call. You know you make a bad call when? Like 10 minutes after you make the bad call, there are hundreds of thousands of tweets about how Earl Hebner should have been refereeing that game because he could not have possibly have screwed the Green Bay Packers any harder than these referees did. My God. And the worst thing about all this is that it's not going to change. You know, people talk a lot about how the WWE, the WWE is sort of beholden to kids and parents, and that's why they went PG, and it's never going to change. And you know what? It's never going to. You might be right because what they're doing right now for them makes the money. WWE is a multi-million-dollar corporation that makes a lot of money all over the world, and they don't have any incentive to change. Why change when what you're doing is working? The only times historically when the World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment has changed is when they're not making money. People talk about how great the Attitude Era is, how much they want to go back to the Attitude Era. The only reason the Attitude Era even happened was because of money. That's the only that's that's the only reason for it. Vince McMahon was so desperate for something to change that he had to change. He fundamentally had to change his program, otherwise he was going to get snuffed out by WCW. That's why we had the Attitude Era. It wasn't Vince McMahon magically deciding, well, this is where we have to take the product now because we just feel like it. What the Attitude Era was a response to the fact that they were getting their asses kicked by WCW. And they had to do something different. It couldn't be, you know, the new generation, what the WWE defines as the new generation, where Shawn Michaels was on top and you had Kevin Nash, and they were really in this weird sort of transition where they were trying to be edgy, but they weren't quite doing it, and everything was sort of cartoony, and they lost viewership to WCW, which, as bad as WCW storylines could be, and they were horrendous even in their heyday. As bad as those storylines could be, there was an air of realism to them that kind of masked all the badness and hid the flaws of the product. Meanwhile, in WWE, you have Mabel winning King of the Ring. I mean, that's a small example, but what they were doing wasn't working, and they were losing money. And I don't think they were ever as close to death's door as been, previously reported. But the only reason Vic McMahon changed was because the ratings were down, and they need they needed to do something different. This call changes nothing because there's if this call by the referees. First of all, it should have been offensive pass interference. And if you don't know what offensive pass interference means or what it is, I'm putting the clip in now. where where the guy pushes off the defender to go up. MJ Jennings, who made a really, really good play on the ball. Deion Sanders always says, pick the ball off, don't bat it down. And if he had batted it, everyone says, well, he should have just batted the ball down. Well, if he batted the ball down, then it would have been a legitimate touchdown instead of a completely fucked up, stupid, non-touchdown. Who knew you could win the game by throwing interceptions? But it's not going to change. Nothing about it will change. The impetus for WWE changing has always been that they needed to change to survive. And the reason why the WWE product has stagnated is because they have no reason, they have no desire to change because what they're doing is working. And I can't fault them for doing what's working. I can't fault them and say you should stop doing what makes you money. It's fucking ridiculous. You can't stop what you're doing. You can't stop doing what you're doing to make you money to make me happy. And the only way the WWE would ever change is if everybody just stopped watching and everybody stopped spending money. But we haven't. And that's the only impetus for change. If you want Monday Night Raw to change, if you want the WWE to change, you're going to have to stop watching. But people have this... First of all, people don't want to watch TNA. But people have this drive to consume that product. And as long as people are consuming that product, then there is absolutely no reason to change. And the same thing goes for the NFL, only on a much grander scale. Because at the end of the day, whether or not pro wrestling has any integrity is sort of left up to your interpretation. But for the most part, it's drama. It's, for lack of a better term, it's acting. It's, I don't want to say it's not real, but it's not real, goddammit. There is something like this could never really happen in WWE just by the nature of how professional wrestling works, and that in itself is sort of what makes this call faker than pro wrestling, because this seems like a call that would be made in pro wrestling, and then the general manager would come out and overturn the call. You know what I mean? Like, this seems like the ultimate. This seems like what just happened at the last WWE pay-per-view, where John Cena's German suplexes CM Punk off the ropes. He gets a 3 count. He jumps up. He's excited. He's no-selling. It's John Cena's moment. He's the WWE champion again. But then the referee realizes it's both shoulders down. Actually, no, that was the right fucking call. What the fuck am I talking about? This is like the referee counting a 3 count with the guys. This is like the referee counting a 3 when the person getting pinned has their foot on the rope and then doesn't reverse the decision. That is the fake pro wrestling equivalent of what just happened in real life. And it won't change because the WWE is a not the WWE, the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar... What NFL makes dwarfs anything that any wrestling company has probably made ever, even in its heyday. And it's never going to change because people like me keep watching. I have 3 loves in life. My girlfriend, see what I did there? It's going to get me some brownie points. Wrestling and football. And football's kind of the newest one in that. But even as, I guess, young as I am in terms of my fandom of football, this was just mind-bogglingly bad. And the thing that frustrates me even more about it is just that nothing is gonna nothing will come out of it. Nothing will change as a result of it. We're not getting the regular refs back until the NFL breaks the referees union. And spare me your political commentary on what you think of unions or whatever. It's not really about that. It's about the fact that we have a situation in which these replacement referees are directly damaging the integrity of the problem and endangering people's lives. Um, some of the things that haven't gotten called, by God. I know I'm a Redskins fan, and maybe this makes me biased, but I saw our tight end, Fred Davis, get absolutely obliterated by the Rams rookie quarterback, Janoris Jenkins. Obliterated, helmet to helmet shot. That is legal in pretty much any league. From Pee Wee to college to the NFL, that's illegal. No flag. Even I hate the Cowboys, but Tony Romo had a helmet to helmet. It's like Roger Goodell is the commissioner in the NFL, and what he has preached since he came into the NFL was integrity and player safety. And one in one night, in 7 weeks, he's sort of shot all over the entire ideal. He punishes the New Orleans Saints for this bounty program in which players were intentionally hurting players, allegedly, especially allegedly now, because it seems like the evidence they had wasn't evidence at all. They punish them, you suspend players, get rid of their head coach for a year, and you take away draft picks, you take away the general manager, you basically doom that franchise to this fate, and then you put replacement referees on the field that do far more to damage the integrity of the sport of professional football than I don't. If what the Saints did was, if what the Saints allegedly did was true, I definitely don't agree with that. But this is worse because say what you will about the Saints putting a bounty on Brett Favre. Brett Favre still got up in that NFC Championship game and played his ass off and was within a couple plays of getting his team in the Super Bowl. The game wasn't decided by the bounties. Last year in the playoffs when the New Orleans Saints faced the San Francisco 49ers, and a little bit of audio came out about the defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, basically saying, there was a player named Kyle Williams, and basically saying, this guy has a concussion. We need to see how tough he is. We need to see how bad this concussion is. But that didn't have an effect on that game. There are calls being made in these football games that are directly affecting the outcome of said games. I can deal with bad calls. It's not like the regular referees are fucking perfect, but when a regular referee makes a bad call, it feels much easier to sort of explain away the bad call because you can understand their interpretation of the rule. So, if I know I'm talking a lot of football, and if you don't watch football, you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But let's say a defensive player gets flagged for pass interference, and that play sets up a team, first and goal, which is first and 10 yards to get a touchdown, and they score a touchdown in the game's final minute. Even though the referee had a hand in calling the bad play, you could always sort of say, okay, I understand why the referee sort of called that, unless it's just egregious, and then you can make the argument. But there have been game-changing plays with these replacement refs that have absolutely no explanation to them whatsoever. That have absolutely, that you can't even begin to say, well, I understand what the referee was thinking there. I can't I can't explain what the referees were thinking, because it seems like so little thought went into what they were doing, and something has to change. Someone has to affect it. If this is ever going to change, the someone has to affect the NFL and its wallet, and I've said that about wrestling before, about if you don't want WWE to be the way it is, if you don't want Impact Wrestling to be the way it is, then don't watch and don't spend money on it, which is ridiculous because, I fucking watch every week. It's kind of my job, but this is faker than pro wrestling on an entirely different level. And to listen to how the NFL is sort of spinning this, it's not going to change. The regular referees are not going to come back. If you didn't know, the NFL has locked out the regular referees because the regular referees essentially want to renegotiate their deal with the NFL, and they're going back and forth with that. So we have these replacement officials who increasingly appear to be officials that are not just underqualified, but are just, I'll put it like this because this video is going long. Some of the referees that are officiating these games have been fired from the Lingerie Football League. The Lingerie Football League, for being incompetent officials in the Lingerie Football League. It's not going to change. It's not going to change unless players strike, or coaches strike, or we stop watching. And right now, it looks like none of those things are going to happen. So, and people will keep watching, and football will keep having these problems. But I know next week I'll be parking my ass on the couch and watching Monday Night Raw, because I sure as shit am not watching Monday Night Football, and probably not any football until this changes. And who the fuck cares if I watch football or not, right? But every little bit counts, and until this is fixed, I can't watch, because this is more than just a bad, terrible, shitty call. This is completely damaging the integrity of a game I like. So I guess I'll watch the fake sport where at least I know when they're damaging the integrity of WWE, they're not actually damaging the integrity of WWE. It's just pretend, instead of selfish people damaging something I really love. I'm No Leaf Clover, and sayonara, bye-bye.